Is it an overreaction to say Kyle Shanahan deserves blame for Trey Lance's injury?
No. No. This is quite a huge predicament we got here, because this is the most split I've ever seen Niner fans.
Yeah, I mean, I asked the question in the post-game presser, which I thought was fair to at least ask it. I mean, if they'd lost, you had 20 questions about it, but they won, so people were like, didn't know what to do. I asked the question, and Rich Eisen like really came down hard on me, like they should have even addressed it. Kay Adams said I was a bitter pundit. I'm not bitter. I'm a nice person. Jose, why do you think it's not an overreaction?
I mean, it's not an overreaction because I know there's already been so many stats like, you don't know how many design runs, and that was an option play. You know, and it's just the comparisons of Lance, the way he's being utilized as a runner. Is it good that he can be used as a runner from time to time? Yeah, sure, you could do that, give him that option, sure. But I felt like he was getting ran to the ground, even in the first game. First of all, it wasn't a monsoon until the fourth freaking quarter. Why do people forget that game? That game literally happened 8, 9 days, 10 days ago.
That's true. I was there.
That, revisionist history?
There were 3 quarters where you could pass. Absolutely. It rained really hard before the game, and from the fourth quarter on, you could pass for 3 quarters. And he did pass. He was 8 for 14 with the drop in the first 3 quarters. He was playing pretty well. People forget that. There were more opportunities to go down the field. Yep.
So that's the thing that pisses me off all the time. It's like, hey, look, for 3 quarters, it was fine. You were there. I mean, I was watching on TV. You didn't have to be there to know it wasn't raining that hard. Like after like the first quarter, a little bit, or like not even beginning. Seeing another thing like, Justin Fields threw it well. I mean, look, I could have thrown it to Dante Pettis that wide open. Anyone could have in the stands. But I hate to talk about like you want to utilize his best strength.
Yeah.
Look at Jalen Hurts, all these players. Well, let's talk about that. First of all, is Trey Lance the same runner as any of those guys?
Trey Lance is averaging 4.2 yards per carry this year. There are better options. Jalen Hurts is giving you 5-6 yards a carry. Same with Kaepernick, Jackson. Lance doesn't do that yet.
And you know what, Grant? Even without the numbers, personally, like those are even great add-ons. Like to me, I watched these guys. Like, how can anyone look at Jalen Hurts, Russell Wilson, even beginning, or even not now because Russell's kind of chubby, but Russell in the beginning of his career, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, whoever else I'm missing, Kyler Murray, all those players. How can you say like, look at those players, and then they look at Lance? Do you think they're even sniffing the same realm of impact or style of runner? Look, all season I was doing over-unders, and one of them was how many rushing yards Trey is going to have. You might have said over, or some like a lot of people said over. I said under because this guy's not a good runner. He looks awkward. He reminds me of Draymond Green shooting threes where he's running with a backpack on. That's why I was telling people he looks like he's the equivalent of Draymond Green shooting three with the backpack on. He is running with the football on, wearing a backpack. Just like he looks awkward, and when he takes a hit, it looks bad. Every time he took, even last year, every time he took a hit, it looked awkward. The guy he's not built for that. He's good to run. You know, some of the riders don't give it to him, but why are we through the A gap through all that?
I wouldn't go that far. I feel like they just didn't put him in positions to get into space ever. They always ran him into a phone booth where like with like they were constantly running him into like 8-man boxes. What are you doing? That's the way I saw it. Is like,
you think it's fast?
What other quarterback is used that way? I mean, Cam Newton was used that way, and he was pretty much done by 26. It was a mistake to use him that way. Tim Tebow was used that way. But I mean, like, what I don't understand is you were trying to develop Trey Lance to be a passer, and you got him hurt running between the tackles. So now you can't develop Trey Lance as a passer. You've set back the learning curve because you used him as a runner when it wasn't even clear that that was the best way to use him. I mean, he wasn't, as you pointed out, he wasn't statistically effective running the ball. So it seemed like the threat of him running was more effective than him actually running. So why was he running so much?
Exactly.
And why was he running between the tackles? It doesn't make any sense. And so I feel like you're wasting his development. His development last year was a waste. This year is now a waste. So now the development starts next year. It starts next year. It's not great.
Think about it. 3 years, 4 years now, whatever, how long it's been. It's like, what did you spend 3 first-round picks for? Just for the fun of it? It's like, because and that's another defense other than look at these other running backs. Other defenses, Kyle, the team doesn't trust him to throw. It's like, but you trust him to run. Sure. And just because it's best strength doesn't mean it's like,
No, but it's not though. But what you're saying is like, they keep saying, you got to do what he does best. That's not what he does best.
I don't think
That's not what he does. That's the key thing here. It's not what he does best. Statistically, it's actually what he does worst. There are so many better options to hand off to than to just have Trey keep it himself. I think what he does best is throw. I like the way he throws off the 5 and 7 step drop game, like the deeper stuff, the stuff down the field, outside the numbers. He's good at that. He's not great at the 3-step drop game. So don't call it. That's Jimmy. And that's why I feel like Kyle is a system coach sometimes, man. You got a quarterback who does well in the 5-7, the 5-step drop, the 7-step drop, and you can't figure that out. And you're like, well, if you can't do the 3-step drop game, then you got to run quarterback power. Like, really? You're an offensive genius, and those are your only options you've come up with? I don't like it. He was a good passer, and you drafted him to pass. You sat him to develop him as a passer. You got him hurt as a runner between the tackles. It's silly. So yeah, I think he's definitely culpable.
I wasn't surprised that Lance got hurt because, I mean, like I said, it's not just because like he doesn't look like he's not an explosive runner. Even when on the scramble plays, if say it was
he's a tough runner. He's a tough runner, but he's like 25 pounds smaller than Josh Allen. Kyle keeps comparing him to Josh Allen. He's at least 15 pounds lighter, smaller than Josh Allen.
He looks 20 pounds lighter in terms of like muscle, just built, just anything, just body frame. I mean, when Josh Allen takes a hit, I don't like. I mean, I cringe because the quarterback's taking a hit, but I'm like, he looks fine. He looks like he's absorbing them. He looks like he's freaking Dragon Ball Z taking hits against a lesser opponent. Versus Trey Lance looks like he's getting flung around like a ragdoll when he gets hit. Like he ran well. It's like I can tell he looks like he's gonna get hurt the way he gets hit so easily.
Also, I think the part of the reason he can't turn the corner and he can't get into space is because the offense is too one-dimensional. When Trey's in the game, they haven't really established the pass yet because Kyle's afraid to do it. So the whole defense is geared up to stop the run.
Yep.
And when Josh Allen's in the game, they're on their heels. They're worried about his arms. So all of a sudden, when he runs, I mean, there's just canyons. They're playing 2 deep safeties. If Kyle would actually like establish the pass and take those shots that were working in Chicago, there might be more space. His leg is broken now. There may have been more space to run. I don't understand why you're like using him like a battering ram. Open up passing. Establish the pass first. The defense is ready for the run. They're not. Remember what Harbaugh did when Kaepernick was in his first start?
Yep.
Pass, get the lead, then run.
Right out.
It's open. They're not. Anyway.
Yeah, and I think you hammering that point to do the pass, it's like, well, they don't trust them to pass. Okay, let's entertain.
They don't trust Jimmy to pass.
Let's see exactly. Let's say that's true. Okay, wait. So you don't trust him to pass. So either what you're telling me is that him sitting last year was a waste. So we were right, which no freaking shit. Because what is he? Who's working on him? Who's working on my scout team? No one. Okay, cool. So thanks for proving my point on that.
Yeah.
Number 2, did they over-evaluate him or did you not develop him correctly? Right. And why aren't you giving him enough chances? Look, I get even if you say he was running on the ground or not, it's like, why in that situation? Why there? It just feels like it could have been avoided. And this is why I sent you that screenshot. That when I watched the game back the day before on Saturday, my takeaway was, hey, is Kyle running him into the ground because he knows he has Jimmy back there, and if he gets hit or hurt, like, he'll miss a month's time. I can survive because I got Jimmy who can go in there.
Right. And he's not anticipating a broken leg. Right. Yeah.
But he didn't anticipate the worst case scenario because it's like, why anticipate it when I got this guy?
All I'm saying is, like, look at Jalen Hurts in Philly. He was a 2nd-round pick. He's not super talented. He's not big. He doesn't have a super strong arm. He didn't look good his rookie year. Look at him now. Look what a good organization did with that skill set. What do you think Trey Lance would be like if Philly had him? I mean, he's a more gifted player than Jalen Hurts in every single way. He should be on that trajectory, but he's not because they wasted year 1, and now they're wasting year 2. And it's a travesty. And I know Niner fans don't want to dwell on this anymore because he's in the past and they got to root for this team and whatever. But before we move on, I just want to say that he should be Jalen Hurts plus right now. Jalen Hurts look great right now.
Look, I'll say this because my cousin other way.
Nice.
My guy cannot stand Kyle Shanahan. So when that injury came through, he was like, yo, cuz, you gotta get this guy. I was like, man, Kyle, I'm officially on your level, cuz, that I cannot stand this guy. Well, not stand this guy, but I'm a little bit out on him after that usage. That was just, it felt like malpractice to me. Again, that's just the way I view it. I just didn't like it. I think there could have been so many better ways to circumvent what happened.
I mean, we're going to talk about Kyle more later, but he's an offensive genius, right? But he's had 3 young quarterbacks in his life. RG3, Jimmy Garoppolo, and now Trey Lance. None of them got better under his coaching. The only quarterback that got better under his coaching was Matt Ryan, who was already a Pro Bowler. Already a freaking Pro Bowler. And they had Julio Jones. So for an offensive genius who's been in the league 15 years, he's lacking in the most important category for offensive geniuses, which is quarterback whisperer, right? He ain't one. He's like a quarterback like blaring in his ear like, I ain't gonna do this. He's not a whisperer. Opposite.
You know what was an indictment I thought too, Grant, was Jimmy said, hey, it's just like 2017. I felt like no pressure, nothing. I'm like, wait, so what changed now? So it wasn't necessarily just the injury. It's Kyle trying to like
Kyle's system. Before I knew the
do this.
Kyle's system is the problem, is what Jimmy's saying. For
Once
him.
he said that pretty much like cemented it for me. It's like, God damn, that is pretty true. Then it's just like, do what I do, and you can't make your own plays. When in that situation, Kyle's like, I don't care. You're an emergency quarterback. Do what you got to do.
Apparently, the quarterbacks have no freedom at the line of scrimmage. You have 2 plays, you pick between them. It's not like audibling or none of that for the 49ers.
That's why I'm starting to be like I'm more than arm's length away from Kyle now. It's like I'm like, you know, and I'm starting to take a little less from Jimmy criticism versus like now, because now Jimmy's criticism kind of lessens a little bit, don't you think? Because he's getting paid significantly less. So now when he misses that bomb, it's like, Jimmy, oh well, you know what, you're not the starter and you're getting paid this much, so try it again. Because that's people forget that's kind of the harsh reality why a lot of us were being harsh on him in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. He can't stay healthy. Well, none of Kyle's quarterbacks stay healthy. They all get hurt. Look at Lance. He got hurt. I mean, immediately. And now Jimmy's playing. How long is he going to stay healthy? And then Brock Purdy will be up.
Oh, yeah. God.
Yeah.
And
I mean, again, like people saying it's not Shanahan's fault that his latest quarterback gets hurt. All of his quarterbacks get hurt. How many times are we going to say it's not Shanahan's fault that his latest quarterback got hurt?
Or his running back, which Trey Lance
it's all of them. And then if you just look at him, if you don't look at the big picture and you're like, well, it's just one play, I'm allowed to call this one play, then yeah, you can always make an excuse. But if you look at the big picture, you might think that there's a common denominator and his name is Kyle Banana Hands.